to talk and discuss the market and what's going on in the market trends. And we're very lucky to be today attended by two market leaders, people who actually are leading their respective companies, both from a broker perspective and a developer perspective. I've known Amira for close to 4 years now, and Abdullah 2 years now, and honestly I can say they're two people who are shaping the market and are shaping the future of how Dubai real estate is going to look like. So I'm very happy to have both of them here, and I'm sure all of us on the call are going to learn a lot about the market and what they see in terms of what's going on in the future and what's happened over the last 12 months. So just for the attendees that don't know you both, Amira, can you please introduce yourself and then tell us kind of what you do and what your role is at your current company?
Sure. So I'm Amira Sajwani, and I'm General Manager of Sales and Development at DAMAC Properties. I handle everything from the point of an acquisition of a land up to the sale and execution of the land, of the property to a client. And whether that's the development of the project brief, the acquisition, the sales process, the launch, the marketing, and thereon. We are, as DAMAC, one of the largest private developers in the region, and we've delivered over 30,000 units so far and have about 25,000 under construction. And we're looking forward to see where the industry is going.
Cool. Thanks a lot, Amira. Abdullah?
Sure. My name is, thank you, first of all, for hosting this, Rami. It's looking exciting. My name is Abdullah Alajaji. I'm the founder and CEO of Driven Properties. We offer a wide variety of services in the property spectrum, starting with brokerage, sales and leasing, property management, development management, and investment management as an organization. We work with a plethora of clients, both on the institutional and individual side. So we're multifaceted as an organization. And we try to service our clients in the best way possible across their property journey. So they start with the property purchase, and that's where the journey starts. And through our portfolio companies and our sister companies, we try to service them and continue to retain the client base at the organization.
Great. So just to say, I've experienced both DAMAC and Driven, and if you guys haven't and you're looking to do anything in terms of real estate, whether you're looking to buy from a developer or on the secondary market, I can't recommend enough both DAMAC and Driven as two entities that you can really get the best real estate in the market. So quickly, just wanted to start off by kind of talking about the market in general, and then, I'll ask the question to both of you. The Dubai real estate market in 2021, kind of what was it for you? What were the learnings? 2020 coming out of COVID, we all know Dubai was open. It opened up faster than anyone. How was the market for you in 2021? And kind of just an overview for you as a leader in your company, and what you saw, major learnings and takeaways from 2021. Amira.
Sure. So 2021 was spectacular for us. It was a complete shock. I mean, I remember mid 2020 almost, I was sitting with my father, who's the founder and chair and CEO of the company. And he literally looked at me and goes, fire sale what you can, we're done. The property industry is gone. COVID is hit, tourism is going to be over, Dubai story is going to be over, whatever you can sell, and let's just get out. And 2 months later, we were looking at what lands can we start acquiring, because the market just shot up exponentially. So I think 2021 was a very surprisingly strong year. As real estate, we did anticipate growth in the property market, but we anticipated growth off of Expo. So we anticipated growth from the real estate market banking on the fact that Dubai was hosting Expo 2020, which was then moved to 2021. However, the growth that we did see was a much more sustainable growth, and that was a very nice shock for us. We saw growth of money that was coming in, or investment that was coming into the country based on regulations that were changing, based on ease of protocols that were happening, based on the way the government handled the market and the pandemic, and the way that it shone the light on the city and the country as a whole. So it was a complete surprise. It was one of the strongest years we've ever had. We saw a shift in demand of property type from usual residential apartments to villas. We saw a shift to a high demand on the luxury side. And that is because of the difference in the investment that was coming into the country based on the differences that happened in the regulations and golden visas that were announced and full ownership by expatriates of local entities, and a lot of good news that came out on the bank of and resulted in additional investment towards the city.
Oh, that's great. I mean, yeah, the market has really picked up, and Abdullah, I know for a fact, you deal with a lot of product in the market, and I'd love to know from your side, dealing on the brokerage side. I know you also do developments. I mean, what did you see in 2021?
Yeah, I mean,
much
of the same as what Amira mentioned. I'd add to that the affluent society that moved to Dubai, towards the later months of 2020. Where Dubai was the only destination, really put Dubai on the map. Expo is one thing to visit, but the reality is Dubai was one of the very few countries to visit. The affluent people that never came to Dubai or never considered Dubai have come, and I've looked at it and said, what, this is actually a nice place to live in, and a nice place to have a second home, and so on. And this affluent society, they come in and buy big. They come in and buy villas, mansions, penthouses. On the ultra high end side, this is the market that by far outperformed every other market. So if you look at the Jumeirah Bay Island and Bulgaria, for example, we've seen prices literally go up by 100%, by a multiple of 2. So prices doubled in that community. That was the best performing community in all of Dubai. And then it boils down to other high-end projects. You look at District 1, Dubai Hills, DAMAC Hills as well, for that matter, and other villa communities have done extremely well. And the reason is the new demand is coming from that pocket, which is new residents, a relatively affluent society that's relocating to Dubai, or at least looking at Dubai for a second home or a second base. And what's interesting about the year as well is that it's really matured. For the first time, at least in my real estate career, I've Dubai normally moved as an index. Everything goes up and everything goes down, and everything moves in the kind of the same fashion. And in 2021, it was really supply demand dynamics at work. Where you see areas that really haven't moved since 2018 or 19, and still where they are today in affordable areas, or even softening as well. And you see areas that are flat or slightly improving, and you see areas that double. So it's really for once a more mature market that is driven really by supply and demand.
So, there's a lot of talk in town that says, this is great because Dubai was open, but Expo plays a major part. And, speaking to brokers and players in the market, and we get asked this from clients all the time, is this an Expo effect? Are the prices, gone crazy and have gone up that much? I mean, you mentioned 100% in Bulgaria Island, Jumeirah Bay. Is this just because of Expo? And then after Expo, is this going to drop? Or are you seeing this something that's going to be long-term, long-lived because of the government initiatives that have happened, the golden visas opening up? I mean, I'd love to see your take, Amira, and then obviously Abdullah.
I don't think this is a result of Expo. Expo is definitely a great opportunity for the city, and people got to see what Dubai is. And I'm sure at least 10% of the people that came for Expo will, at some point, if not already, decide to have a second home here, because Dubai is a place that once you have been, it is genuinely hard to leave or not want to be here. But I think I 100% agree with Abdullah that the type of money or the type of investment and second homes that have now come into the city, and first homes. There are a lot of people that have actually migrated to Dubai, a lot of affluent people who were in cities such as London, New York, Hong Kong, that have decided, you know what, we can live from Dubai and work from Dubai. And that is also a result of two things that have helped Dubai heavily. And one is this post-pandemic tech shift in how people work. I mean, working remotely has become a very normal thing. Working from home has become the norm. Freelancing from abroad has become the norm, because COVID forced a lot of people globally to have to adapt to technology in order to maintain their working standards. And I think one thing that Dubai did that was also, that will also help where we go in the next 2 years and further from there is the change in the weekend. Dubai shifted the weekend from Friday, Saturday to Saturday, Sunday. And that will attract a lot of people who in the past would not be willing to work from here because of public global markets and trading, to now think of Dubai as an option for working remotely.
Abdullah?
Yeah, I echo the sentiment. In many ways, the reforms have helped in a big way. You know, as you mentioned, the 10-year golden visa. If you look at Dubai and in terms of how it performed as a result of this migration, it outperformed many global markets and global metropoles around the world. In fact, it was ranked the third globally in luxury homes in terms of how it fared, recording 17% year-on-year growth year-over-year. We've seen the highest value of transactions in Dubai's history in 2021 at 300 billion. You know, and you know, a 72% year-on-year growth. You don't see this every day. You don't see this every year. In fact, you don't see this in any mature market. So that influx tells you a bigger story, and that, you know, Dubai is now establishing a new base, a new kind of infrastructure that will support further growth. And what Dubai is great at is introducing a new catalyst year over year, and in fact in the last few months, month after month, you know, more reforms, more, you know, the change of the work week, the visas, the change of company laws, where you can own 100% of a locally domiciled company and DED as an expat without the need for a local sponsor. These are tough, you know, measures to do, but they were done without hesitation. And there is more catalysts to come. If there's one thing that will not surprise you is a new initiative or a new regulation that will further support and boost investment into the city and into the country, especially from the foreign world.
100%. I mean, we're seeing a lot of international investors coming onto our platform from, you know, different countries that we never expected would invest in Dubai. And, you know, that's something I actually want to touch on later with you guys and kind of see if you're seeing the new geographies coming. But, you know, there's a question that we get asked a lot, and, you know, being in kind of the tech and having the access to data and being very transparent with our investors, you know, one question that they always ask us is supply and demand. And, you know, they always worry, okay, Dubai is known that, you know, when the market's really hot, and then supply starts getting picked up and bought, and, you know, so developers and, you know, other players in the market turn around and say, okay, we need to build more. And then the supply demand imbalance starts happening again, which, you know, Amira, I know your father has spoken about many times, and, you know, he's been a big advocate of, you know, speaking to the market or to the government specifically, saying, you know, we need to control supply a lot better. You know, so how are you seeing that right now? You know, are we gonna ruin this run by, you know, flooding the market with a lot more supply? I mean, right now everyone talks about villas. You see all these new villa developments coming out. Everyone talks about, you know, luxury apartments, and, you know, luxury there's not enough luxury units, and then you see a market being flooded with luxury. I mean, are we going to see this again in terms of supply-demand imbalance, or do we have enough demand coming, or do we forecast enough demand coming over the next, you know, 2-3 years that's going to kind of absorb all the supply that will be developed? Amira?
Look, I think that's a great question and a great point to be made. Supply and demand will always be an issue, but I think that Dubai, if not one of the best things about the city is that we learn from our mistakes. I think they've seen this cycle already enough times, whereas last year or the year before, even a council was established within the land department in order to evaluate projects before giving permissions. And I think today, your land bank in Dubai is not what it was 4 years ago. Master communities are not easy to find. I mean, we launched our new master community about 4 months ago, and that land took us a long time to find, negotiate, acquire, abide by the terms for. So I think Dubai is doing the right thing. It's making it a bit more difficult for people to come into the market who are nobodies, you know, with the escrow system, with the cost of acquisition, with the cost of registration, things that are healthy on both sides of the table. I think they're also being wary of the fact that they're not distributing lands as easily. At the end of the day, you have to buy land mainly from a government entity. And so lands are not easily available today. As a developer, I can tell you, we were looking at the market to see what is a possible opportunity. Now, of course, when the market's doing well, you'll have a lot of developers that get excited. You'll have a lot of new developers that get excited. You know, there's so many of these guys now in the market that are like, oh, we'll do a luxury building, low-rise penthouses. But, you know, even if you have 100 new projects that are luxury, and with luxury, you can't have 100 units in each project. You can have, you know, 50, 60 units in each project. That's still not crazy demand relative to the light that's being shone on Dubai. And I think with the escrow system, the capital needed to enter the market is higher today. So I don't think we're going to have the problem that we had with supply and demand in the past. There will always be a problem with supply and demand because people like us will always get excited and say we're going to try to, you know, induce the market as much as we can and release as much as there is demand for and capture that market share. But people like us also know that if we do too much, it's going to hurt us in return. So I think the big developers in town have learned that it's not just about them, it's about the ecosystem that we all are in, and we have to abide by. I think it's as simple as that.
Good point. Abdullah, what are you seeing? I mean, because you're driven also sells for a lot of developers on the launches, you know, on the off plan. So what are you seeing?
Yeah, I mean, look, in September 2019, the committee was initiated to control supply in the market, and we saw specifically government developers, ensuring that the release of new supply is managed, if not completely shelved in a number of projects, which was a great initiative at the time because there's so much supply and just enough liquidity to absorb it in the local market. Now, that's not to say that you can't be creative about creating new liquidity from international markets and China and Africa and Europe and other and CIS countries as well. There are still opportunities to educate foreign markets about what's out there in Dubai, what opportunities await them in Dubai. Luckily, in 2021, it was organic, and it happened very organically. Everyone just came here, realized that this is an excellent market to make investments, to buy in and to get into. I believe there is a huge role. In fact, it is the game changer. It's really the government, turning on and off the supply demand button. And as Amira alluded to, the government has learned from previous mistakes. We've seen it all. We've seen what they've done right. We've heard the stories of there is pent up demand. There is always pent up demand, and whether that's true or not, it's very, very difficult to forecast. No matter how economics versed you are, and no matter how good you are from economics perspective and supply demand kind of fundamentals. Now, the issue comes down to where are we on the demand cycle? In 2021 we've seen a lot of liquidity pour into Dubai. Are we going to see this continue? And if so, what is the catalyst behind that? Why will more demand come in to the city? Why is this demand going to be channeled towards the same asset classes where there's a lack of supply in? And as you very well mentioned, Now everyone is launching villas. Everyone wants to do the best penthouses in Dubai. Everyone wants to do the ultra high end. And and again, are we? This is it could be problematic, right? It could be it could lead us to another cycle of oversupply of this asset class that suddenly everyone wants to get into and everyone is interested in. And then ignore what maybe there is a real need for. So I think it's on the demand side. It's very tough to forecast what's coming. On the supply side, it's really the government has a very important role to play in ensuring that between the private and public developers there is controlled release of new supply. Let's be realistic. The city of Dubai has so much land in the east side of the city, not much land on the west or the coastal side of the city. So it's how that is balanced from a government perspective and getting the private and public sectors to talk to one another and make sure that there's continuous phased release of new supply and land.
That's a good point. And I want to touch on something before I jump to another topic, which is reasons why people are buying. But so when you look at the market today, there is definitely a shortage of good quality townhouses or villas. I mean, you hear stories today of villa rents going up to 800,000 dirhams, 1 million dirhams, where before they were being rented for 400,000 dirhams. And you get, I have friends who moved from Lebanon. Obviously, you had a lot of people moving when the explosion happened, and they came here and made Dubai home. And they, the prices just went up, and they couldn't find anything of decent price. So today, do you see that the villa versus apartment segment? Is the villa demand something that's going to be short-lived? Is this a long-term fix because of what happened with COVID? People just want bigger space? Or, because Amira, I know you develop both villas and apartments. And, what are you seeing in terms of demand? Are you seeing people wanting to rush after villas regardless of location? Or, they just want bigger space and they're willing to go outside of, the center of town? Or are you seeing this going to go back to apartments and people will want to be in the middle of town, where places where you develop like Marina or Business Bay or downtown, they want to be closer to town. So what are you seeing?
See, Rami, I think we're in a very interesting era at the moment where things happen because of purely the pandemic. So there was a huge shift in demand on villas. And we saw that even peak of pandemic, I think we were one of the only developers selling well in literally July, August of 2020. And that was because we were the only ones who had ready villas available for sale. So I think the shift did happen majorly because of the pandemic. People realized they wanted bigger space. They need their kids out of their face, at least for a few hours in a day. But I think because, again, the shift of technology has allowed so many people to work from home that they don't mind being 15 minutes away in a bigger space where they can work from home and get that additional space. However, people that are investors, people that come in, and this is a second home for them, they still do prefer apartment living. So yes, we've seen a huge uptake in our villa sales, but equally we've seen an uptake in our downtown and Business Bay apartments that are mainly ready and near ready. So honestly, it's not one or the other. I think the market shifted towards villas for a while. It cycled slightly back to apartments, and now it's just up in general. I think villas will have a better appeal for people, but the debate between ready and off plan is always an issue. So people who can afford, like people like your friends who've moved into town, they'll want something ready. They don't want something that's off plan and they have to wait 3 years or 4 years. So I think that's where the gap is. The gap is where developers are willing to say, it's fine, I'll fund it. Even if it doesn't sell today, it'll sell when it's ready in 3 years. And that's okay with me because on an overall level, I have enough capital behind it. I think that is where the gap is, where if you're going to build luxury, you need to understand that luxury people want now. If I can afford a 10, 20 million dirham property, I want it now because I can afford to pay you 5 more and not have to wait for a couple of years. But I think one important thing to note that, I was having this discussion with my father recently, and we were saying Dubai today is still extremely cheap, no matter where you are, whether you're in the outskirts of where the likes of our DAMAC Hills projects are, or you're in center of town. Nowhere in a mature, established market today that is on the scale of Dubai. And I wouldn't be shy to say Dubai today is on the table with Hong Kong, London, New York, Singapore, in terms of business growth, SME support, economical growth. We are on that scale today. And in terms of that scale, nowhere in any of these countries will you be able to buy a house that's spacious enough, good quality, center of town, or relatively center of town. Even 15 minutes of, on the outskirts of Dubai Hills and the DAMAC Hills is considered center of town for all of these mature cities for $500,000. So I think where Dubai is headed is that eventually supply will narrow and prices will be forced to go up, because that center of town diameter at the end of the day will not be expanded beyond a certain point, no matter what.
100%. I fully agree with you. And, Dubai is really becoming a leader in terms of, value for money, lifestyle. And, you hear this from everyone who's moving. I mean, Abdullah, you deal with a lot of people who move, end users coming in, looking at either off plan or ready to move in now. I know I've sent a lot of my friends your way in terms of renting and buying. So, what do you see in terms of demand? Is this shifting back to apartments, or what do you see?
Yeah, I mean, certainly, and at the beginning of this cycle, if I may, maybe I'll say that this cycle of growth started around August of 2020, but the late summer of 2020, right? This is when we started seeing. First, we saw signs of liquidity, of abundant liquidity coming in, and then we started seeing actually growth in prices and people trading up. And demand outstripping supply, and villa owners or sellers of villas and townhouses getting more difficult to deal with, put nicely. That started in August of 2020, and I'd say fast forward a year later, around September of 2021. That cycle was when the growth and the liquidity that's concentrated to villas and townhouses has been we've seen a lot more liquidity chasing villas and townhouses than any other asset class or real estate class, except the ultra high end segment of the market. So ultra high end could be very high end villas or high end penthouses and so on. So the demand way outstripped supply and during that period. From September, October of last year, we started seeing shifts also to medium to high end branded residences, serviced residences, and downtown and DIFC and metropoles in the city, and waterfront communities, beachfront, La Mer. These areas have also performed fantastically well from just from around September, October of 2021 till today, and where they're still performing both from a transactional perspective, volume and values started coming up. So yes, I do see signs of, we do see signs here of a more level playing field where people, yes, they want space, yes, they want balconies, fresh air, and so on. So villas are continue to be very hot and very much in demand. However, apartments have also started, things have started to come back to normal, and in the easiest sense of the word.
Cool. Next topic is looking at the global economy. You read any paper today, everyone talks about inflation, 7%. High. Everyone is worried. The prices of oil going up, which kind of helps the region, of course. But when you look at just the global economy, and the last time I was reading this article in the FT yesterday, last time inflation was this high was in the 1970s to 80s, and the stock market went down 36%, but real estate went up 200%. So people today are they looking at real estate for a hedge against inflation? Are you seeing people just parking money from an investment point of view versus end users? And this is kind of what I want to understand in the dynamic today is, are people coming in saying, listen, with inflation at 7%, I want to park my money in real estate? People are a bit more worried about the crypto space, with the drops, the instability over the last month, I would say. So, are you seeing a lot more money flowing into real estate for, just as a hedge against inflation? Let me just put that, investing, or are people versus, people are buying them as end users? Are you seeing people just coming in and investing? Amira?
I think Abdullah would be better judge of this answer, since he deals more in the secondary market, which he would judge more of an end user. For us, a lot of our sales are off plan. So it's hard for us to dictate if this guy is investing for capital appreciation on delivery or if he's investing as an end user. I can tell you from a mortgage perspective, because we have our mortgage buyers, our ready units are highly ready buyers who are end users who want to move in, because our mortgage percentage has gone up significantly in the last few months. People who are taking just mortgages and are end users and they just want to move in immediately. Our off-plan properties I can't comment on, because I wouldn't know if it will end up being an end user or a investor. However, in our recent few launches, we did notice that we had quite a few bulk deals, which shows us that it is more investor pivoted, because it is more, they're looking for that slight discount on taking the bulk and hedging as an investment towards what it would be worth at delivery.
Abdullah, what do you say?
Yeah, I mean, look, spot on is what we with inflation at relatively high figures, you'd have to start thinking about where do I put my money, where do I deploy, how do I beat inflation? It's 7%, and at least in normal times is tough to beat. No matter how great you are from an investment perspective. Now, and the environment and the inflationary environment that we have now, and the very low interest rate environment, it's been a good ride for everyone with any asset, effectively. If you own stocks, if you own bonds, commodities, cryptos or real estate, you've done well. And it becomes a question of what's going to get me the best risk-adjusted returns over time, right? And I think you correctly alluded to the fact that in these kinds of environments, real estate is the best hedge against inflation, simply because you have full control over an asset. It's not as volatile as equities or bonds. In down markets, it's very tough to see a 10 or 20% drop in a single day for real estate assets or real estate market, and so you have plenty of options to kind of go for. Now, how does real estate fare over time against other asset classes? I think from a risk-adjusted returns perspective, it does provide the best capital returns. That's a fact of history. And it's the least volatile as well. Now we have seen incredible volatility in Dubai in terms of real estate prices, but if you look at where we were in 2000 and where we are today, we're significantly in the money, and we will significantly be much more in the money by 2040. So from a risk-adjusted returns perspective, I think hedging against inflation today, your best bet is real estate.
Couldn't agree more, 100%. So technology. Moving on to technology, I know people are asking us about stake, which we'll get into. This is we can answer some questions on that, but I just wanted to touch on technology. Technology has disrupted the status quo of industries across the globe, completely changed the way businesses conduct themselves. How are you seeing technology change the way real estate is conducted in both your firms? How has it changed over the last year? How do you see it changing in the future? Amira.
I think technology has a long way to go. I'm a huge advocate for technology. I'm very much into the blockchain space, the metaverse, where we're going, Web3, automation. I think at the moment, if you're asking me as DAMAC, at the moment, we're working heavily on our technology front. We've introduced a lot of AI into robotics, into data analytics. We've introduced a lot of virtual side of engagement. We've tried to pivot towards efficiency by reducing manpower. Manpower isn't reducing the contracts and all of the admin behind, our DAMAC Living app, which facilitates for client side, and our DAMAC Agents app, which is facilitated for our broker and partner side. But I think we are definitely looking heavily into that aspect of what more can we do? Where are we going from here? Whether it's, digitizing transactions and being able to connect directly into the land department network automatically and facilitate our clients into automating all of that. And with the introduction of UAE now accepting DocuSign e-signatures, I mean, there's a massive canvas that we're able to play with now. And we are definitely, I can't comment too much because we're in the midst of our huge digital kind of, I wouldn't say transformation, but vision. But technology is going to be a game changer for the industry. And I think being 27, I'm very interested in that aspect of it. And I'm personally looking over a lot of what is going to happen on that front.
100%. Abdullah, what's your take?
Yeah, again, that is a fascinating thing, and of course it shapes our future. We've seen how technology shapes our future, has changed everyone's outlook towards how we see the world and how we see business, and we've seen how tech plays a major role in our everyday lives. So I think tech will continue to play a big role in the industry. From our perspective as well, we've it's all about the process, introducing the systems and the processes that ensures that both the journey of the from a kind of a business rules perspective, the journey of our agents and our staff is managed and automated as much as possible, and from a client's perspective, that we talk to them regularly, through our AI platforms, and ensuring that we talk to them regularly about data insights and how we can continue to service them and retain their responsibility and the services through technology, and that's the only way if you have a human element talking to thousands and tens of thousands of clients, you'll never get anywhere. So, but if you introduce tech to ensure that the journey between your firm and your business and the clients through ensuring that they work in really a parallel universe is how things would really develop, and ensuring that tech is at the heart of it.
100%. And as two leaders in the real estate market, here's a question for the both of you. Real estate and the metaverse. People are starting to put $500,000 and millions of dollars in the sandbox, buying virtual land with the hope of developing it. And you're hearing all these crazy stories. Companies are in the metaverse are raising millions and millions of dollars at billions of dollars of valuation. I mean, is this crazy? Is this the future? Buying virtual land is, for me, I'm still wrapping my head around it. I've been trying to educate myself as much as possible, but then you go back and you look at the real world and you say, okay, this is where the market is. But again, a lot of smart money is going into this, and the US and obviously Europe is catching on. How do you see that? First of all, what's your take on the metaverse? Do you see yourself buying plots of land in the virtual universe, or potentially developing or brokering land there? I'd love to hear your feedback on that. Starting with Amira.
I think it's a bit early to comment on metaverse, because this is literally when the internet first came out. This is Web3. This is the internet first coming out. I think the metaverse, I'm a huge believer in it. There's definitely a massive future there. There's huge potential. Where it's going to be is hard for me to judge right now. And I'll tell you why. I cannot imagine myself working from a virtual office. I just can't. For me to work from home is difficult enough. I cannot focus. So to ask me to put on an Oculus or a pair of glasses and say, okay, work virtually and just sit on your couch all day and work from there, I find it difficult to fathom. However, I know for a fact that my 14-year-old brother will happily do it. Over the summer, we went to California. You've taken a 16-hour flight to go to a destination, and he used to spend 8 hours a day from the minute he wakes up to almost bedtime in his Oculus. And we'd go out. Mehdi, you want to go to the beach? No, I'm playing ping pong. Like, who are you playing ping pong with? Let's go, I'll take you to play ping pong. No, I'm happy, I'm playing ping pong with a stranger in Asia. So I think that we have to look at what is that generation inclined to, because it's not our generation. You know, we used to make fun of my father because up to 4 or 5 years ago, he still used the really old Nokia flip phone. And we'd say, Baba, how are you still on this phone? We don't understand. Yeah, today iPhone, I can't live without my iPhone. So I think that's the way that the next generation is going to look at us in 15 years. And because of the pace of which tech has improved, I think it's not going to be 15 years. I think it's going to be 5 years. And the people who catch on from now are going to be the winners. And the people that are left behind are going to be forced to adapt. Like, our father's generation were forced to adapt to the internet and to smartphones and to WhatsApp and to email. And I still remember the day I showed my father how to use the forward function on WhatsApp. And for him, it was what? Like, this is life-changing for me. So I think it's very important to keep very up-to-date on the updates of the metaverse. Would I buy a virtual asset in the metaverse? I would. I'm in real estate. I would. It's diversifying my portfolio. Do I see that it will replace the real world? I don't know. I don't think so. But I think it'll be a huge factor that is a part of the real world. Just like the internet today, most people can't function without the internet. A few weeks ago, I remember Facebook and WhatsApp and Instagram was down for about 4 or 5 hours. And suddenly I had conversations with people that I haven't spoken to in years because nobody had anything to do. So I think the internet plays a huge role in people's lives. Web3 will play a bigger role, and it'll have so many benefits. It'll have accessibility. It'll have you being able to be in the same room as somebody who's halfway across the world. So I'm a huge believer. I think there's a huge, huge future. And we've seen the likes of Sandbox, Decentraland. There's a lot of other, metaverses coming up. So I think it'll be very interesting to see in the next 18 months what's there and the froth that will be eliminated from the market. That is the hype that is there today on just buy and see where it goes in hopes of 10x.
So should we wait for the next DAMAC hills in the metaverse? Is that
I think you should stay tuned. I think you should stay tuned.
Abdullah, how do you see this? Are you going to be brokering deals in the metaverse, starting to make commissions on?
For us, it's new, it's excited. We're obviously fascinated by technology, the way it shapes our lives. It's interesting, really interesting to see the development as such in terms of how this is progressing. I'm very much enjoying the process. Obviously, the earlier they adapt, the better you're positioned. So you have to adapt to this. It's obviously an individual decision whether this is going to happen or not. Personally, as an organization, we do believe this is tech on steroids. The way we see it, there's tech in the form of how to improve your processes, and there's that other universe that exists and in the digital world and all of that. Of course, you'd be a fool not to understand it more and watch this space and continue to enjoy that process of it and try to adapt to it and when the time is right, start maybe brokering deals in the metaverse.
So speaking of change and technology, both of you are aware of what State does. We've sat down and discussed, how we bring tech to investing, allowing people from all over the world to invest online in 3 minutes. But, doing it in smaller amounts, having been in the market for so long, one of the major objections I would get when I was ever in the market was affordability or, being worried to commit to big amounts into real estate. And what we do at Stake is we allow people to invest smaller amounts into ready property where they can earn immediate income, and they do it online from the comfort of their home, straight on their phone. So as for both of you, having seen Stake and just knowing what kind of with the business we do, how does that what do you see? Does that help the market? It's new, so obviously there needs to be a lot of awareness done. But you've both been in the market long enough, and you've seen the objections. What do you think in terms of crowd investing? What we do, an investment platform like Stake. How do you think that helps the market? That changes the market? What are you seeing as an effect? Amira, start with you, please.
I think fractional ownership has a huge future. I think it opens a door to liquidity that was not available to the real estate market in the past. I mean, especially again, if you look at the changes, in the last couple of years, in the last 2 years post-pandemic, you see that shift. You see platforms such as Robinhood that made accessibility to equities much more democratized. So I think fractional ownership in real estate does the same thing. It allows people who didn't have the means to enter real estate or the ability to, or knowledge even to enter real estate, to access that real estate, which that is basically done for them. Everything is taken care of. They're putting their money and they're benefiting off of that asset being a real estate asset with whatever investment risk or reward that comes with it, and whatever covenants that of growth or appreciation that are associated with that asset. So I think genuinely fractional ownership has a huge future. I think it's just open to the market. There needs to be a lot of awareness about it because, again, it's a very new concept. And even regulation-wise, global regulators are still very new with the concept of fractional ownership, how it should be regulated, how to protect the clients. But I think that it has such a scalability because of the liquidity pool that it opens up for developers, for brokers, for anybody that's in the real estate industry, essentially.
100%. Abdullah?
Yeah, I mean, it's really a game changer. I think the fact that you can open a screen, pick up property and buy 5,000 worth is something that is I wouldn't have thought of 10 years ago or 5 years ago. So the fact that you have that option today and invest so little and get exposure to the property that you like exposure to is really fascinating. I think it, as Amira correctly mentioned, it opens the door for new liquidity, new avenues of liquidity, new avenues of distribution that weren't available in the past. So if you don't have to have 1 million dirhams to buy a property, you can have exposure to the real estate market at 5,000. Not even in a way that a REIT would, because when we're talking about REITs, it's still you're exposed to a basket. Here, it's a property. You know what the property is. You understand the economics. You believe in exactly what you're buying, and you have a certain degree of confidence of the performance of that sub market or that micro market. So the fact that you can do it in a very direct way and in a very affordable way is a game changer, and I think it has a massive future, and surely it will help the real estate market as a whole from a liquidity and transactional perspective, and will add the big game changer is this becoming a solution to developers, right? Because if you have scale, developers and private and public could go to the likes of Stake and say, you know what, we have this project, maybe your platform can absorb that kind of liquidity through tens of thousands of buyers. So that as it's scaled up, has massive potential and could be a game changer, and is a threat to other players in the ecosystem.
We're not stepping on your toes. We're all here to help each other, Abdullah.
But I'm not worried about you, Rami.
I'll say something in terms of the market in general and how we select our assets, right? So because we got asked here, how do we select our properties in the fast-moving real estate market? So we definitely have a bias towards prime locations. We look for real estate in locations that are developed. Now, we don't go for off-plan. So, some of the deals that we can do, even though they're great, whether it's doing it straight from a developer or from a brokerage, they can't be off-plan. We're regulated by the DFSA that doesn't allow off-plan. So it needs to be ready, which for investors is actually a very good choice because you can start earning returns immediately. As Amira said earlier, people want to come in and they actually pay a premium to get stuff that's ready because they can either move in immediately or the returns are coming a lot higher because you can earn immediate returns. So when we actually look at the market, we go after prime locations, make sure that the developer comes from a reputable background, they deliver on time, they have good quality, that the returns make sense. And then, we run it through our data models. So one thing that, speaking of technology, one thing that we actually really pushed the envelope on is we have got 2 data scientists from MIT who build us a machine learning algorithm. It's part of their capstone project. So as a company, we had to apply. We had 2 data scientists looking at data to build us a machine learning algorithm to help us choose real estate better. So it's no longer just human touch, but we actually have a model that we in-house. That we put information in, data from that we get from the land department, that we get from Readin. It's an online platform with data supplier, and we basically run the numbers and say if this deal makes sense or not. So it's fully data driven. And then once we select the unit, investors from all over the world can invest. I'll ask just one last thing, and then we'll open it up for questions. For us on Stake, we've seen investors from 100 different nationalities from 30 different countries. Abdullah, Amira, we know the usual suspects in terms of investors in Dubai. They're kind of been the same for a while now. Are you seeing any new geographies, nationalities coming in and putting money into Dubai that you haven't seen before? And if yes, where?
Yeah, we're definitely seeing a diversity of nationalities now in the past 1 year or so. Surprisingly, they were definitely investing in Dubai in the past, but I think they're heavily investing now is Russia and the CIS region. They are looking into the region seriously, and in terms of luxury especially. China, India, Pakistan, they were the usual investors. We're seeing interesting interest coming from the US and from Canada. We're seeing some interest come from Europe, which was from places in Europe that weren't the usual for us, So definitely there is diversification is happening. And I think, again, it'll come back to everything we discussed in this call previously, which was just the light that was shone on Dubai, and that a lot of people actually use Dubai as a haven during COVID, thinking it's the only city that's open, and just decided we want a property here. So we are seeing diversification in big scale. Of course, it'll never compete with the cities that are already usual to investing with us, but there is diversification happening in the market.
Abdullah?
Yeah, the beauty of Dubai is there's always a replacement to everything and everyone. From our data and what we've seen, at least from our own transactions, we've over the last 2 years since COVID hit, the Chinese was probably our most active investor group, and in the last 2 years they were not as active, simply because they couldn't come, and if they came, they'd have to quarantine for 3 weeks when they go back to China and so on. So and they like to see what they buy and so on. So what the ones that, let's say, not exited but slowed down, I'd say, is China and Saudi Arabia over the last 2 years. China for the same reasons, and Saudi because there's so much development and so much growth happening in Saudi that the Saudis are focusing on their core market, and that was more than replaced with, as Amira mentioned, the CIS countries, Russia, Ukraine, Eastern Europe, as well as the surprisingly Germany, France, Belgium, Netherlands, Italy, Spain, Monaco, you name, the UK, of course, you name it. Many parts of Europe have done exceptionally well. We haven't seen investment coming from Europe in the same way that we've seen in 2021, not in any year that since we've been operating, and that's 10 years. So Europe is a major one. The US certainly, we've seen, especially on the ultra high end side, a lot of Americans, a lot of Canadians, and then interestingly enough for us as well, a lot of interest coming from Japan, and a lot of it is crypto money and new entrepreneurs, new money coming, new wealth, mainly from cryptocurrencies and so on. So these are the markets where we're seeing new demand coming from. Surprisingly enough, as well, Iran was relatively slow in the last 3 years since 2018. we've seen new money coming in from Iran as well, and you know, in a way that that hasn't been the case 3 years before that.
Cool. Guys, really thank you very much for this. I'm just going to open it up for some questions. We have 3 questions on Q&A from Aish. Dubai is known to have a very volatile real estate market. Do you think the market will now stabilize and follow standard growth following COVID and Expo? Explain why too. I think we kind of touched on that, but you know, if you just want to kind of give a quick summary, Amira and Abdullah, on that, because Ali's asked the same question. Do you see the Dubai real estate market slowing down and deflating after Expo, given the sharp rise that we witnessed? So it's kind of what we touched on. So if you just want to, you know, touch on that, and then we can go on to the next question.
I do think that growth will maintain after Expo, especially because I mean, Abdullah can correct me, but from us as a developer point of view, we didn't inflate prices massively in the last 1 year or 18 months, even though demand skyrocketed, you know, sales skyrocketed. 2021 was one of the best years we've ever had in terms of revenue and sales, but we didn't increase prices. And that was because it was more about let's balance supply and demand. So it's not like prices have shot up 30, 40%. There's still leeway for growth. And, you know, I wouldn't use it. It's probably the wrong comparison to make, but you look at it like crypto. Crypto today is at, you know, 42,000, but it has massive potential. Can it go down? It can easily swing down to 30, 35, but if you're a long-term believer in it, you know it's not going to stay there. So my answer would be, it could go down in a year, but that shouldn't matter. If you're a believer in Dubai, if you're a believer in the city, and you're a believer in its growth, then it going down 10% or swinging up 10% shouldn't matter to you. And my advice would be not to try to time the market perfectly, because I learned from the equity market last year, you will get burnt if you try to time it perfectly. If you're a believer, close your eyes, pick something you like, or pick an investment opportunity that you're passionate about and get in and just forget about it. Dubai has growth. It could be a 2-year cycle and it'll go down for a year, but it will come back up. Dubai has a story. Dubai has growth. And with the leadership behind Dubai, I have zero doubt about where it will be in 10 years. So I wouldn't worry about that at all.
Thanks, Amira. Abdullah, your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, look, as the last thing that Amira mentioned is timing the market is one of the biggest mistakes anyone will make, right? You know, the fact that it went up by 15 or 20% doesn't mean that it's, you know, the next cycle is down, and vice versa. You know, it's just you have to. It needs to be a long-term play. You need to have long-term vision. You need to believe in what leadership effectively is going to do in the city. And as I mentioned earlier, Dubai always surprises us with a new catalyst. There's a lot coming as well. You know, we've seen the new regulations surrounding gaming in Ras Al Khaimah, and how that could attract new foreign capital to the UAE. You know, Saudi Arabia is progressing very fast. That will make that will make sure, you know, accelerate Dubai's growth story and make sure that they run faster. So I have no doubt about the long term. You know, from a real estate perspective, from an economic perspective, I think certainly, you know, if your conviction is that the real estate market has jumped because of Expo, it didn't. Because it actually started going up, you know, in September or August of 2020, so 1 year before Expo, and what really accelerated this growth is the reforms that the government did over time, and the continuous. And as they continuously do so, I think that will further accelerate the market. You know, monthly swings up and down, and quarterly and annual swings are possible and normal. And you know, it's not, if it was a ride up forever, you know, everyone would buy it. It's not realistic for this to happen. But what you get with real estate is much less volatility than any other asset class, and that's what makes it a safe haven.
100%, and you know, kind of that's where our whole ethos at stake is. You know, if people are worried about kind of overcommitting or committing a big amount of their savings or net worth into a property, we give them the opportunity to diversify across various assets and lower amounts. And I'm answering one question here: what is the lowest amount one can stake? The lowest amount, we lowered it to 1 dirham. So anyone can come in for a dirham and own a property in Dubai through us. Secondly, does race matter in staking? That's probably the first time I ever got asked that. No, it does not. People from anywhere in the world can onboard and invest on stake. That is no issue. Ronnie had a question: is there potential to crowdfund entire developments on stake as opposed to just single apartments? Yeah, I mean, that's as people from, we're not the only ones doing this. There's a lot of other players in the US and Europe where they come in and actually fund complete developments and redevelopments and finance developments. So, definitely part of our roadmap is to start working closely with developers like DAMAC and seeing how we can, bring in their stock onto our platform and say, listen, give us allocation of a building. I mean, we'll start off with a floor or a building, right, Amira? And then take it from there, because there is going to be a demand for people who want to own in DAMAC Hills, DAMAC Hills 2, that potentially
you can take DAMAC Hills 2 with pleasure.
That couldn't afford it, and they'd love to come in. So yeah, there is definitely opportunity there. Ali asked the question: since crypto has come up several times during this discussion, has it? I haven't really. I think we've spoken. I think Amira has spoken about crypto, and Abdullah actually. Do you expect developers to start accepting it as a form of payment anytime soon? Question also applies to stake.
So I think that question was more for me. Yes, we see us accepting crypto in the near future, and that will be in a regulated manner. There are several companies that have been regulated by Abu Dhabi Global Markets, ADGM, that allow for them to accept crypto. And we are in talks with a few of them to see how we can help our clients go through them to broker deals. So we'll not be accepting it directly, but we will facilitate crypto payments very soon, we hope.
Abdullah, have you started accepting crypto as a form of payment on your side?
No. That's, from a regulatory perspective, that's still in the works. There's no framework that regulates the acceptance of cryptocurrencies as a form of payment yet, and there's strict guidelines against it within the real estate ecosystem in general at the moment. But as Amira mentioned, I do see this evolving in a very, very short period of time.
So for stake, to answer your question, by regulation, we're not allowed to. So we kind of fall under the DFSA rules. We can accept crypto, but we're lobbying for it. And if anyone knows the DFSA who's on this call, help us to get those approved, because I think it opens up a huge market, and it gets people, as you mentioned, from a younger age who believe in this, and that's their form of currency and transacting, to start participating in the real estate market. No more to Rami. Does stake have any plans to create a secondary market where investors can sell their shares in their invested properties? Yes, 100%. Stay tuned. We'll be launching a secondary market before the end of the year, where people can trade their shares. We won't open it, so we don't want to open the market up for people who just want to flip. We want to actually, because real estate is a long-term investment, so we will have a secondary market, but we'll probably do it on a 2 times a year or quarterly, so that people aren't just coming in and out and using it just as a flip. No other questions. Thank you very much for the both of you. I know it's late. We've taken your time away from your children and your busy schedules, but really appreciate it. If anyone doesn't have any questions, we're recording this, so we will be sending this across. Amira and Abdullah, really thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thanks a lot. And I'm going to take you up on getting stock, the best stock from both Abdullah and Amira in terms of listing on the platform.
Of course.
I think everything comes at a price.
Yeah. As long as you give me the best price, right? So here you have people here. Are you going to give me the best price in the market?
You'll get better value driven. I'll tell you that much. Better value for your money.
I like that. There's a challenge.
I don't mind. Abdullah looks like he needs the help selling. I don't.
Oh, I love it.
No. I think the market is very competitive right now, and everybody's getting a good deal.
Great. Chamal just asked a real question for Aisha. Is investing in stake similar to a REIT? No, it is not. We allow you to choose the real estate that you want. A REIT, as Abdullah earlier mentioned, you're investing in the fund that has various properties. With stake, you have the power of selection. You can choose which property you want to invest in from a selection of properties that we have. And also it's done a lot smoother. The entry is a lot less, and it's a lot more retail friendly. And the costs are less than a REIT. So, and REITs, unfortunately, haven't done very well in the region. So we like to say that what our investment platform has been able to kind of deliver on returns that some of the REITs haven't really been able to achieve. Thank you very much, everyone. We will record this and send it to everyone. Amira and Abdullah, really thanks a lot again. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Take care. Have a great evening. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
You guys, thank you.